All they did was draw with chalk, but she saw it as vandalism. It was a warm Saturday morning in May when the laughter of children echoed down Maple Drive. The kind of laughter that made you think everything was right with the world. The neighborhood was buzzing with spring energy, birds chirping, lawnmowers humming, sprinklers whirring, and kids playing outside like it was still the 90s. In front of 224, Maple Drive, two sisters, Sophie, age 6, and her older brother Liam, age 9, had just opened a fresh box of Sidewalk chalk. A birthday gift from their grandmother. It had every color imaginable, neon green, coral pink, ocean blue, and even glitter gold. Their mother, Rachel, watched them from the porch, sipping coffee and smiling at the simplicity of it all. Sophie bent down, her curly brown hair tied back with a unicorn headband, and drew a massive pink butterfly with wide, swirling wings. Liam wrote, "Welcome Summer," in bold rainbow letters next to it. They drew suns with smiling faces, clouds raining jelly beans, and stars with sunglasses. It wasn't just art, it was joy on concrete. But just 3 houses down, someone was watching. And she wasn't smiling. Her name was Karen Whitmore, president of the Maple Drive HOA and proud owner of the only perfectly trimmed hedge maze in the entire subdivision. She wore her usual weekend outfit, crisp beige slacks, a pastel cardigan, and a permanent scowl. She'd lived in the neighborhood for 12 years and considered it her mission to keep it orderly, quiet, and property value friendly. And she hated chalk. From behind her pristine lace curtains, Karen squinted at the children like they were tagging gang symbols, not doodling daisies. Her lip curled at the sight of the butterfly. She fumbled for her phone. "This is a violation," she muttered, scrolling to her HOA bylaws app. She tapped a few keys, finding what she needed, Article 12, Section 4. No temporary or permanent markings may be made on community-owned walkways, driveways, or sidewalks. Her eyes narrowed as she watched Sophie start writing her name under her butterfly in glitter chalk. Karen didn't hesitate. She opened her HOA complaint app, and then stopped. No. This needed immediate attention. She dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? The dispatcher asked. Karen took a breath and made her voice as grave as possible. There are unsupervised children defacing community property with what looks like permanent substances. I believe it's graffiti. The dispatcher hesitated. Ma'am, you're calling about sidewalk chalk. Karen bristled. It's not about chalk, it's about standards, and safety, and neighborhood integrity. And if you don't send someone, I'll have no choice but to escalate this to the county board. There was silence on the other end, then a sigh. We'll send someone to take a look. Back at the kids' house, Rachel had just refilled her coffee when the sirens pierced the morning calm. 2 police cruisers turned into Maple Drive and parked right in front of the chalk-covered sidewalk. Neighbors peeked out of windows. Lawn tools stopped mid-motion. The world paused. Rachel's heart jumped. She ran to the edge of the driveway. Officers? What's going on? One of them, Officer Daniels, stepped forward awkwardly. Ma'am, we received a complaint about vandalism. Something about children drawing on public sidewalks. Rachel blinked. You're kidding. No ma'am, he said, looking over at the butterfly and the happy summer slogans. Honestly, this is not exactly what we expected. By now, a small crowd had gathered. Mr. Jenkins from next door. The Patel twins from across the street. Even old man Rogers, who hadn't left his porch in months. All staring at the ridiculousness unfolding before them. And then Karen emerged. Phone in hand, lips tight, HOA binder tucked under her arm like a weapon. I'm glad you finally arrived, she said, walking up to the officers. You'll want to cite them for defacing HOA property. And issue a warning to the parents. Officer Daniels glanced at his partner, then at the colorful sidewalk, then back at Karen. Ma'am, this is just chalk. It's still a violation, Karen snapped. Article 12. Section 4. I printed the page for your reference. And in that moment, something shifted. What had been a quiet morning of joy and innocence had now become the opening scene of something bigger. Neighbors pulled out their phones. One of the Patel twins started live streaming on TikTok. Rachel stepped forward and raised her voice, not in anger, but in firm defense. They're kids. And it's chalk. And if you think that deserves a police response, maybe you're the one who's out of line. The air turned electric. The sidewalk was no longer just a canvas, it was a battlefield. And the war had only just begun. This isn't just about chalk. It's about control. And she won't stop until every smile is scrubbed off the sidewalk. Karen Whitmore stood in the middle of the sidewalk like a general on the front lines, arms folded, HOA violation notice in hand, lips pressed into a thin line that could slice through drywall. Her pearl earrings gleamed like badges of honor as if to say, I am the law here. The officers had left after a few uncomfortable minutes. They'd issued no citations, made no arrests, and definitely didn't confiscate any chalk. Before stepping back into his cruiser, Officer Daniels had leaned toward Rachel and whispered, honestly, I'd let them draw a mural if it keeps them off iPads. But for Karen, their departure wasn't a resolution, it was a challenge. I will not be ignored, she muttered as she stomped back to her home, binder clutched tightly to her chest. If the police won't do their job, I'll do it myself. The very next morning, Rachel opened her front door to a shock, a bright orange HOA notice of violation zip-tied to her mailbox. The reason? Unauthorized public art on HOA property. Fine, $250. Must be removed within 24 hours. Rachel stared at the letter in disbelief. Public art, she scoffed. It's a butterfly, not a Banksy. But she wasn't the only one. By noon, 7 more houses on Maple Drive had received similar notices. All families with children. All 4, chalk offenses. The Williams kids had drawn hopscotch boxes. The Nguyen's had written, Happy Graduation, for their daughter. Even the Lopez twins, who barely colored outside the lines, got dinged for a smiley face son drawn on their own driveway. One by one, parents gathered near Rachel's house to compare the notices. It looked less like a neighborhood and more like a protest forming outside City Hall. This is ridiculous, said Mr. Williams, holding his fine like it was radioactive. She's targeting kids, said Mrs. Nguyen. Who fines a 6-year-old for drawing a heart? She's targeting families, Rachel corrected. And if we don't push back now, she'll scrub every trace of life out of this place. Meanwhile, inside her pristine home at 217, Maple Drive, Karen was busy. Her printer whirred and spit out papers as she assembled what she called Operation Neighborhood Neutrality. Her desk was lined with color-coded folders labeled Noise Complaints, Unapproved Lawn Ornaments, Sidewalk Markings, Criminal, Community Aesthetic Violations. In her mind, this wasn't personal. It was about standards. She'd moved into Maple Drive for its clean lines, beige homes, and peaceful rules. Chalk drawings. That was the start of chaos. Today it's butterflies. Tomorrow, murals. Next week, graffiti. And who would stop it then? She didn't see children at play. She saw the end of civilization. And so she posted new flyers around the community entrance. Reminder to all residents. Sidewalk art is prohibited and will result in a fine. This includes all chalk markings, temporary decorations, and unauthorized drawings. Let's keep Maple Drive beautiful and neutral. HOA President Karen Whitmore. The next day, the chalk was gone, not from rain, but from fear. Parents scrubbed it away before their fines doubled. Sidewalks turned gray again. The sound of laughter faded like the pastel marks that once filled the street. But not everyone was ready to surrender. That evening, Liam stood by the curb staring at the clean concrete. "We didn't do anything wrong," he said. Rachel knelt beside him. "No, honey. You didn't. Then why does it feel like we lost?" Rachel looked around the quiet street. The flyers were still flapping in the wind, taped to the lamppost like wanted posters for joy. "We haven't lost," she said. "We're just getting started." Later that night, Rachel logged onto Facebook and started a private group, Maple Drive Parents for Sanity. Within 12 hours, it had 37 members. By morning, it had 83. Posts poured in. "Can we legally challenge this? I have photos of Karen yelling at my daughter last fall. My kid cried for an hour after scrubbing his chalk rocket ship." Someone uploaded a picture of Karen measuring a sunflower pot with a ruler. Another posted a photo of her pulling a flyer off someone's lawn with tongs. And then, a video went viral. A TikTok uploaded by 14-year-old Maya Patel had caught Karen in the act, arguing with Officer Daniels while pointing at Sophie's butterfly like it was evidence in a federal crime. Her voice screeched, "This is not art, it's visual pollution." The video racked up 1.4 million views in a day. Commenters were ruthless. "Karen needs to touch some grass. Imagine calling the cops on Chalk loudly crying face. Protect the butterfly at all costs butterfly." Rachel watched it all from her kitchen and smiled for the first time in days. Karen may have declared war on Chalk, but now the internet was watching. One of them, Mr. Cleary, age 78, once ticketed a toddler for kicking a soccer ball onto his lawn, stopped his cart in front of the Patel twins and barked. "Step away from the sidewalk with that chalk. It's contraband now." "It's literally just a smiley face," Maya Patel argued. "Rules are rules," Cleary growled, pulling out a digital camera and snapping a photo. That evening, Rachel's phone buzzed non-stop. The Maple Drive Parents for Sanity Facebook group was on fire. Camera with flash, Patel twins harassed for sidewalk art again. Speech balloon, they cited me for wind chimes. Pouting face, we need a lawyer. This is harassment. Rachel scrolled through the comments until one caught her eye. She's weaponizing the HOA. Let's fight back, with truth. That comment came from David Lynn, a quiet dad with a background in civil law. Until now, he'd been silent in the group. But now, he posted something that made everyone pause. Paperclip attached, Maple Drive HOA bylaws, original 2003 version. Karen's new rules weren't legally voted in. Stop sign, she has no authority to enforce fines for chalk unless the majority agrees. And we didn't vote. Calendar, let's call an emergency community meeting. This Thursday. 6 p.m. At the park. Direct hit, let's remind Karen that we live here too. Thursday came quickly. The meeting was held in the community park by the lake. Folding chairs lined the grass. More than 60 families showed up, many with their children in tow. Rachel stood near the front, her heart pounding as she watched the crowd gather. And then, Karen arrived. Wearing a dark green power suit and pearl earrings, she marched toward the small podium like she was about to address the United Nations. Her binder was thicker than ever. "Good evening," she said stiffly. "I see we're all passionate about the preservation of Maple Drive. As your elected HOA president." "You weren't elected," someone shouted. Karen's face tightened. "As your acting president, I've taken steps to ensure this neighborhood maintains its standard." If Karen couldn't win with rules, she'd rewrite them. And this time, she wasn't coming alone. Karen Whitmore sat at her oak dining table, lit only by the glow of her laptop and the sharp glint of her HOA president nameplate. On the screen was a spreadsheet titled Community Order Enforcement Initiative, Phase 2. She wasn't just angry, she was humiliated. The TikTok clip of her shouting, "It's visual pollution," had reached nearly 3 million views. Her niece in Arizona had sent her a message that said, "Aunt Karen, you're literally going viral. Not in a good way. But Karen wasn't the type to hide in shame. No. Karen struck back. She pulled out a red pen and wrote across the top of the page in block letters. Crack down. The next day, the neighborhood woke up to a different kind of morning. Instead of birdsong, there was the sound of metal stakes being driven into the ground. At the entrance of Maple Drive, 2 new signs had been installed. Warning: chalk-free zone, HOA policy enforced. Prohibited drawing on sidewalks, driveways, or streets is prohibited. Telephone receiver violators will be fined and reported. Even more shocking, a new HOA rulebook was hand-delivered to every doorstep, 74 pages long, spiral-bound, printed in color, and updated overnight. The cover page read: By order of the Maple Drive Beautification Board. Rachel flipped through hers, stunned. There were new restrictions on bike riding after 6 p.m. Garden gnomes with excessive color. Children's toys left in yards. Noise from basketballs. And most importantly, any form of chalk art. Did she write this all herself? Rachel whispered. She's gone full dictator, muttered Mr. Williams, reading his copy while still in his bathrobe. But Karen hadn't stopped at paperwork. She had recruited an army. 4 new assistant enforcers had been appointed, retired HOA loyalists who now patrolled the sidewalks in golf carts labeled HOA Volunteer Patrol. Inside her house, Karen watched it all from her front window. Her once controlled neighborhood was now a swirling explosion of color. Butterflies. Balloons. Cartoon carrots. Even SpongeBob. But what infuriated her most was the laughter. In her dark living room, Karen opened the app and watched it. For a moment, she didn't see children being unruly or rules being broken. She saw community. Then she closed her phone. Her hand hovered over the HOA binder. She didn't open it. She called Cleary. We need to take the patrol cart out. He sighed. Karen. I think we've lost this one. She slammed the phone down. At 3 p.m., Karen stepped outside, arms crossed. Her shoes clicked on the pavement until she stood before the giant rainbow caterpillar the Williams kids had made. A group of children stared at her, waiting. She looked down. The caterpillar had a speech bubble. Smile, Karen, smiley face. For a brief second, her lip trembled. Not in anger. In something almost human. Then she turned and stormed away. That evening, as the sun dipped below the rooftops, Maple Drive shimmered in pinks, oranges, and electric greens. The sidewalk wasn't just sidewalk anymore, it was a timeline of joy. A local artist stopped by and asked if she could add something. She knelt down, drew a girl holding a butterfly in one hand and a badge in the other. Above it, in cursive chalk, she wrote, "Let them draw. Let them grow." Rachel teared up. Liam filmed it. Maya edited the footage. By midnight, their TikTok titled "The Chalk Rebellion, Our Street Strikes Back" hit 2 million views. Karen tried to erase their colors. Now, the kids are coloring the whole street. The sun rose on Maple Drive with a quiet confidence. It was Friday, the day after the emergency meeting that had exposed Karen Whitmore's overreach, and the air buzzed with something Maple Drive hadn't felt in weeks: hope. Rachel sipped her coffee on the porch, watching as neighbors who barely spoke before now waved to each other across the street. Parents who had sat quietly in the shadows of HOA fear were now greeting each other like old friends. And then, something magical happened. Maya Patel, armed with a box of chalk and a fearless smile, stepped into the middle of the sidewalk and drew a bold pink heart. Then she added wings to it. Then she wrote, "For Sophie." Sophie, still in her pajamas, gasped and ran outside. "It's so pretty." Rachel looked at Maya's mom, who gave her a small nod. Rachel nodded back. This wasn't just about chalk anymore. It was about taking their neighborhood back. By 10 a.m., Maple Drive had become a canvas. Liam drew a dragon-breathing rainbow flames across 3 driveways. The Nguyen kids made a hopscotch path that wrapped around the mailbox. The Lopez twins recreated a full zoo with chalk elephants and giraffes. Rachel added sunflowers and the phrase, "Color is not a crime," near their mailbox. Even Old Man Rogers, who hadn't smiled since 1998, handed a stick of chalk to a child and muttered, "Make me a shark." But the real moment of rebellion came at noon. David Lynn returned from the print shop with a long vinyl banner and zip ties. With the help of 3 other dads, they fastened it to the fence at the entrance of the street. It read, "Crayon the Chalk Rebellion has begun. Artist palette, a neighborhood of color, joy and common sense. Hashtag let kids be kids." Within hours, people from other neighborhoods came to see what was going on. Teens on bikes. Parents with strollers. Influencers with ring lights. In the next PTA meeting, Maya's chalk drawing was printed on the cover. By 5 p.m., the Chalk Rebellion had been featured on Good Morning America. Karen tried to spin her side. She released a cold, robotic statement to the press. Sidewalk markings represent potential hazards to cleanliness and property value, and as HOA president, I acted within reasonable bounds to preserve community standards. But it backfired. The internet replied instantly. Did she just call butterflies a hazard? Karen's running for mayor of Dolesville. Community standards. What community? You're the only one mad. Someone even made a remix of her speech auto-tuned with the words, "No more chalk." Karen's HOA anthem. That version hit 1.2 million streams on SoundCloud. Meanwhile, in the real world, Karen's grip on Maple Drive was crumbling. At the next HOA board meeting, forced to be public thanks to David Lynn, over 70 residents showed up. David stood up first. "We're submitting a motion for immediate removal of Karen Whitmore as acting HOA president." Karen's eyes darted across the room. Only 2 people didn't raise their hands. The rest? Unanimous. Rachel walked up to the mic and added, "This neighborhood isn't just about fences, flowers, or square footage. It's about people. Families. And yes, sometimes butterflies drawn in pink chalk." The room erupted in applause. Karen stood. Her jaw tightened. She opened her binder, tried to say something, but nothing came out. She closed the binder one last time, tucked it under her arm, and walked out. That night, Sophie asked, "Mom, are we still allowed to draw?" Rachel smiled. "Sweetheart, not only are you allowed, tomorrow we're having a chalk festival." Viral justice. A butterfly, a badge, and a billion views later, the internet picked a side. And Karen wasn't ready for it. By Monday morning, the sidewalk art on Maple Drive had become more than just local chatter, it was a national sensation. The hashtag Chalk Rebellion was trending on X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and even Facebook. Clips of Sophie's butterfly, Karen's 911 call, and the banner reading, "Let kids be kids," were being reposted by everyone from parenting bloggers to meme pages. A stitched video of Karen yelling, "It's visual pollution," while a pastel rainbow slid behind her hit 5.7 million views overnight. Talk show hosts joked about it. Today in Crimes Against Sidewalks. When HOA stands for Haters of Art. Sidewalk chalk now classified as dangerous weaponry in Maple Drive. Rachel's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. CNN called for comment. A BuzzFeed article titled "The Neighborhood That Fought Back in Chalk" included her quote. Even a late-night comedian used her image in a skit. "We interrupt war coverage to bring you this breaking news. A butterfly has triggered a suburban uprising." Rachel, laughing and overwhelmed, texted Maya's mom. "Should we start selling t-shirts?" Meanwhile, Karen was in crisis mode. She stared at her HOA email inbox, 146 unread messages. Most of them weren't kind. A few were threatening. One said, "Retire, Queen Grinch." Worse, her HOA superior at the county office, Mr. Leonard Hargrave, had sent an official request. Please clarify the legality of your sidewalk policy. We are receiving complaints and national media attention. This is a PR disaster. Karen's hand shook as she clicked delete. She opened her binder, then slammed it shut. That afternoon, the school principal of Maple Elementary made an announcement over the loudspeaker. In honor of creativity, kindness, and freedom of expression, we are proud to support our students and families participating in Maple Drive's Chalk Rebellion. A crowd gathered silently as she finished. Rachel stood close by, holding Sophie's hand. A few neighbors had tears in their eyes. Even David Lynn choked up. Someone started to clap. Then everyone did. Later that evening, a drone video of the entire street, covered in chalk, packed with smiling families, buzzing with life, was posted online. It included a voiceover by Maya. They told us to stop drawing. They said it was a violation. But we didn't break the rules. We broke free. This is our neighborhood. And we're coloring it our way. By midnight, the video had hit 12 million views. Meanwhile, inside her home, Karen sat quietly. Her binder now lay untouched on the table. The rules, the citations, the laminated warning signs, all of them irrelevant now. She picked up a letter that had arrived in the mail earlier. It was from the County HOA Review Board. Due to multiple complaints and a violation of community vote procedures, your position as acting HOA president is officially suspended pending further review. She stared at it for a long moment. Then, for the first time in weeks, she sighed. And then she did something even she couldn't believe. She walked to her garage. And picked up a piece of chalk. The Chalk Festival. It started as a drawing. It became a protest. Now, it's a movement. Saturday morning arrived with a fresh buzz in the air. Lawn chairs lined Maple Drive. Colorful balloons danced in the breeze. Children ran with chalk buckets like they were carrying treasure. Folding tables were set up with lemonade, snacks, and face-painting kits. A banner stretched across the street. Party Popper Maple Drive Chalk Festival. Crayon creativity lives here. It was no longer just a protest against Karen's rules. It was now a full-on celebration of freedom, family, and art. Rachel stood beside the welcome table with Maya's mom, both wearing homemade t-shirts that read, "Draw loud. Draw proud." Next to them, Liam helped tape off a sidewalk section for the Junior Artists Zone, while Sophie, paint on her cheek, glitter in her hair, passed out chalk sticks like they were candy. People from neighboring blocks came, then people from other towns. Then reporters. By noon, over 400 people had shown up. There were kids, teens, grandmas, artists, veterans, even the mayor's assistant. One elderly man said, "This is the first time this street has looked alive in years." But the highlight of the day was the chalk parade. At 1 p.m., kids marched from one end of the street to the other, holding signs they had decorated. Color is not a crime. Butterflies over bylaws. We won't be erased. Let kids be kids. The last sign, held by Maya and Sophie together, read, "Our street. Our art. Our voice." As the parade passed her house, Karen watched from her window. Alone, her lawn was perfect. Her hedges sharp. Her porch sterile. And for the first time, she looked small. Near the festival center, local artist Denise Valero, who had driven in from 3 towns away, began work on a mural that spanned the length of an entire driveway. It featured Sophie's original butterfly, Liam's rainbow dragon, a police officer holding up chalk like a sword, and in the center, a mother holding a. It started with a pink butterfly and a yellow sun, drawn by a 6-year-old with a piece of sidewalk chalk. By sunset, it turned into police sirens, HOA violations, and a viral meltdown that would divide an entire neighborhood.